Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It is Monday, September 15th, and you know what that means. It is time for the High Risk Wrestling Recap. I am your host, Jeremy Pierce. You can check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. And let's get into, I don't know what the hell that was. Let's get into the news. Tony Khan says that he will not be stopping with the residencies. They just ended a 3-week residency at the legendary 2300 Arena. I went to the last 2 shows there, and it's a good program. Like, you save money, you get an intimate setting with the fans, you can put on great shows. It's a win-win. You can go back to doing the 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 seat arenas, and then the bigger ones for the pay-per-views. It's just a good idea. It works. A CMS star has re-upped with AEW and with CMLL, and there'll be none other than Hachicero. The man is essentially a mainstay now in AEW, part of the Don Callis family, and he's already up for Match of the Year with Brodido. The one and only Ali, aka The Bunny, has returned to wrestling training after 2 years being away. She was a big part of the early years of AEW, and no one will ever forget her legendary hardcore matches and street fights with the AEW women's roster. I am very much looking forward to her returning to AEW. We'll get to her husband at a later point in the news cycle. Odyssey Jones has filed a lawsuit against his ex-girlfriend and has taken major steps as WWE has been put into the subpoena as well for wrongful termination. He is looking to gather documents and the disclosure of WWE's contract, text, email, screenshots, a whole bunch of other things. We'll see what goes down on there. An ex-WWE superstar was at the Ring of Honor tapings this past week during the the residency for AEW. That would be none other than the artist formerly known as Katana Chance. Now going by her former name, Lacey Lane. She wrestled on Ring of Honor, taking on, I believe, Story Denali or Lena Cross. I forget which one it was, but it was good to see her in the arena. She could be a big part of Ring of Honor. If MJF has been making waves on the movie circuit, and he has just been cast in a sequel to a legendary horror film. He will be in Violent Night 2. It is the sequel to the legendary Violent Nights, set during Christmas. Big things are popping. The head of TKO, scumbag Mark Shapiro, has indicated that WWE ticket prices could and will possibly be rising in the future. He has openly stated that the WWE ticket prices and the sales are not on par with UFC, and that Vince McMahon purposely kept ticket prices low so families could attend events. And now Vince McMahon is gone. I can't believe I live in a world where you made Vince McMahon look like the good guy. And some really dumb, idiotic news. If you all know WWE, you know that after Christmas, the first show they always run is their major house show at Madison Square Garden. They do this every year. They've been doing it for God knows how long now, and it will not be happening this year. It's a TKO decision. Who knows why they did it? It is absolutely dumb. And in the shocking news that we all saw coming, WrestleMania 43 will be taking place in Saudi Arabia. I dived more into this during the last episode of the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. Please go and check that out. It's not good. It's not fun. At this past week of Dynamite, right? FTR making the way to the ring, and Dax got into it with a fan, and I'm there. I'm in the arena, and I'm like, he's going really hard at this one specific fan. Maybe he's a plant, but no, it is a douchebag named Brandon the Hill on Twitter. He is an avid AEW hater. He's an avid FTR hater. He actually spent his own money to go to that show just to shit talk FTR and AEW, then went and cried and bitched and moaned like the fucking pussy that he is on Twitter. Fuck that guy. This video is probably not going to be monetized. There was a report that TNA talent could not work Maple Leaf Pro because of Anthem and their, TNA's now allegiance of the alliance with the WWE. This came from something that Moose said, where he said he wasn't allowed to work MLP events, and the head of Anthem and Skye have both shot this down. So someone should really let Moose know. And there's some very just crazy, abrupt, and shocking news. Andrade's gone from the WWE. He was released. He was been gone for weeks. He was just away for weeks, and we were speculating, why he was gone. So apparently, one, he skipped out on a AAA project, which may or may not be true. I can kind of understand that. He has very much been a CMLL guy. Apparently he had some backstage issues, and I think he saw the writing on the wall with his booking. He was never going to be booked as a top star again. We know he went back to WWE to work on his marriage to Charlotte Flair, and then of course they ended up getting divorced. There was also a wellness policy issue, but he is gone. He has been released from AEW. My biggest guess, I'm not released from WWE. My biggest guess is that he will be returning to CMLL as La Sombra and will eventually end up back in AEW because he left there on good terms. On the injury side of things, the Blade, who underwent successful back fusion surgery in September 2024, is on the road to recovery, and he has finally got back into the ring, just training, and he is very much looking forward to getting back in the ring and wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, the Butcher and the Blade were mainstays of AEW, and with the Bunny being back in training, I'm very much looking forward to the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny returning to AEW. Liv Morgan has returned to the Performance Center and made her injury recovery. Remember, she had a shoulder issue, and she's now in training, so we shall see what goes down. She was actually in Vegas for that stupid ass special announcement for WrestleMania. Jerry Lawler ended up suffering a minor stroke, but he is doing well. He is back home healing. And some sad news, but ultimately uplifting news. Maria Kanellis is urging fans to take care of the skin after revealing she underwent surgery to remove a cancerous mole from her leg, so the possible cancer doesn't spread. But she has been a trooper in all of this. I had a couple health issues, but she's doing well now. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the news, and we shall be right back with the week in review. Let's get into the week in review. You know how we start, always with Monday Night Raw, and this show gets a fist, and it was pretty much AJ Lee's first promo back. So we open up with the Usos being reunited, and they cut a promo on the Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and we are setting up the tag match for WrestlePalooza. LA Knight ends up brawling with them. He joins the Usos, and we get a match booked for later. AJ Styles versus El Grande Americano. Styles was attacked before the bell. A second Grande Americano interfered again. Dragon Lee neutralized him, and AJ Styles won with the Styles Clash. Backstage, Knight challenged either the Bronson. He's going to get Bronson Reed later. Adam Pearce canceled the EO Stephanie Vicaire contract signing. Asuka versus Nikki Bella is also set for later in the evening. Then we had Lyra Valkyria versus Raquel Rodriguez. Ultimately, it was a competitive match with many counters. Perez led the distraction, allowing Raquel Rodriguez to hit the Tahana bomb on Lyra. We had some setup for Penta versus Rusev for later in the evening. Penta asked Pierce, I need this dude to respect me, and Rusev stated his claim for the IC title. We get a match booked between them two. AJ Lee made her return. She cut in a promotional promo about her retirement, about the therapy she went through, and her comeback. And it was essentially the same crazy AJ Lee, but more reserved and grown up. Becky interfered, Seth joined, Punk appeared, and well, we got the tag match set for WrestlePalooza. Penta versus Rusev was a hard-hitting bout with interference from the New Day, allowing Rusev to get the win after Xavier Woods' distraction. Asuka versus Nikki Bella. Nikki had burst, looking good there, but Asuka controlled most of the match and ultimately won, tapping out Nikki with the Asuka lock. Backstage, Dom defended his alliance with Americano as a lucha thing, which, you know, Finn and them aren't really getting by Roxanne Chase. After them, LA Knight versus Bronson Reed. That was our main event. Reed dominated with his size. Knight tried to evade and fought back and had spurts, but ultimately Braun Breaker's interference led to the finish with Bronson Reed winning with the jagged edge. And at the end of the match, after the match, we had a beat down on Knight and Jimmy Uso. Jay made his return, fought off the heels, and then shockingly speared LA Knight, because remember earlier in the show he accidentally got hit with a splash, which he blamed on LA Knight, and Jay declared we good now as the show ended. This is very, very intriguing what's going on with Jay Uso over on Dynamite. We were closing out the 2300 Arena residency. This show gets a thumbs up. We opened up with Bryan Danielson joining commentary. He's officially part of the commentary team now, and he is officially retired from in-ring competition, but I think he'll wrestle again someday. And Excalibur ran through the card for the evening. Our first match was Hangman Adam Page versus Josh Alexander. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, I was here for the Dynamite and the Collision show. This was a fast-paced brawl with apron spots, some moonsaults, couple suplexes thrown in. The Don Callis family interfered late, but Hangman overcame all of it, and he won with the buckshot lariat. After the match, he cut a promo on MJF and Don Callis. So Kyle Fletcher comes out, Kyle Fletcher comes out and confronted him about the AEW title shot, and Fletcher was getting chastised for not wearing socks with his shoes. So Hangman agrees to the match at All Out, but only if Kyle Fletcher leaves the Don Callis family behind, which he agrees to. Now I'm pretty sure this is probably supposed to be Wardlow in this match, but Wardlow is hurt again. So there you go. We had some video packages. Briscoe challenged MJF, and MJF cut a wild unhinged promo on Mark, and he said, "I don't really care what your stipulation is going to be." We had backstage with the Young Bucks who were going through catering, and nobody would sit with them, and the rest of the people ran off. Cutler told the Bucks to screw off, and Mox is like, "I need you at your best," and you know what? We'll just give you the money. Death Riders, we don't need it. Mercedes Moné and Emi Sakura versus Riho and Alex Winter was a fine tag match. I've seen better from all four of these women. I think part of it is that Riho and Emi Sakura are just rusty. Riho got the win for her team, submitting her mentor Emi Sakura to the single leg crab back in the parking lot. Ricochet hyped up the all-out match versus the Hurt Syndicate and proposed no interference for his match later in the evening against Shelton Benjamin, FTR, and Stokely. And we had a whole video with Christian Cage on them, and man, like I said earlier in the show, Stokely and FTR just really gave it to the fans, especially that dickhead fan in the crowd. They ended up attacking the camera crew, and it's just ratcheting up this rivalry. Then we had the Hurt Syndicate backstage. MVP called themselves gentlemen and agreed to the gentleman's agreement. Shelton said he'd take care of Ricochet personally. No one would come out. Of course, during the match, which was a really, really great, solid contest, the Gates of Agony interfered, which led to Ricochet winning the match. And of course, they all end up all brawling after the match, having to be separated by security and more wrestlers. Hook was on a rooftop somewhere, and he said, "You know what? I get it. I understand. You my boys. Y'all got my back, and maybe he should be doing things by himself, or maybe not." Fletcher and Don Callis reiterated Fletcher's all-out title match with Hangman, and that he will be doing this alone. Then we had a beautiful, just funny and brutal street fight between Toni Storm and Skye Blue. Just a combination of comedy and violence, with Skye Blue stapling Toni in both of her thick butt cheeks, her tits, And down below, we have mousetraps and cheese and electronic buzz zappers, but ultimately Storm won by hitting the Storm Zero on a chair. After the match, the rest of the Triangle Madness attacked Storm. Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander failed to make the saves, and Thekla stood tall. Here you go. Backstage, Willow Nanaga, she had her interview. Love my girl Willow. And she said she's going to fight Marina Shafir. Please let them fight. This match needs to happen. When she also told Harley, who tried to serenade her, that I don't trust Chris. Me and Chris are done. You should watch your back. Then we get to the main event, which is one of pretty much AEW signature matches at this point, the All-Star Tag Team matches, and it was the Young Bucks teaming with the Death Riders to take on Brodido and the Opps. And of course, Will Yuta just booed everywhere. He's doing absolutely fantastic in this role. This was, of course, a chaotic multi-man match. Was it as good as the one we got a couple of weeks ago? That was like the PWG tribute? No, but it was still a great match. In the end, the Bucks and the Death Riders won, and the Bucks ran out of there with the money. After the match, the Hills all beat up on Shibata. Darby tried making the save, but ultimately Daniel Garcia turned heel, attacked Darby, curb stomped him twice, once on a chair, and left with the Death Riders. Over on Impact, we are getting closer and closer to Bound for Glory. This show gets a fifth. Our opening match was Moose versus AJ Francis, Mustafa Ali in order forward at ringside. Ultimately, this was a fun big man battle with an apron bomb, some power spots and near falls, but Moose won with a spear. After the match, he challenged Ali, and Ali declined, which means obviously they're going to face each other at Bound for Glory. Backstage, the System vows to crush the Nemeths, and the Rascals reunited in the treehouse. We had a comedy skit with Jake Something, was pretty good. Our second match was Joe Hendry versus Travis Williams, who was subbing for Eric Young because Eric Young was falsely advertised, because why would Eric Young wrestle Joe Hendry? He was a distraction throughout, but ultimately Joe Hendry won with a standing ovation. Hendry, Fleet, Young and Icarus, and Young berated the Armory, so he power drives them. Tough love, I guess. Backstage, Kazarian beat Cardona up with help from Ryan Nemeth, and then Cardona threatens Ryan. Victoria Crawford says she's launching her podcast, Classes with Gia Miller, and Jody Threat makes the save. I'm waiting for Gia Miller to get back in the ring. Our third match of the evening was Jake Something versus Zachary Wentz versus Trey Miguel versus Myron Reed. This was a number one contenders match for the X Division Championship. Leon Slater was on commentary. Of course, with all X Division matches, this was a high-paced, fast match with chaos, with the Rascals doing triple spots and Jake Something with his power moves. But ultimately, Myron Reed won the match with a 450 splash. After the match, Kazarian tries to recruit Jake Something. Heather by Elegance took on Jessie McKay. Ultimately, Heather won via a roll-up after some interference from her Elegance teammates. Then we had Cassie take on M by Elegance, and Santino restarts things after a post-match brawl, and Cassie won with the swinging suplex. So he ends up booking Heather by Elegance versus Monster Slamovich in a no DQ match. Indy Hartwell will be the special guest referee. He also booked the Inspiration versus the Elegance brand at Victory Road for the Knockouts Tag Team titles. TNA likes to do these events where they have like a mini pay-per-view before their big pay-per-view. So, and they're usually on Friday, so it will be Victory Road. Steve Macklin wore Kazarian, and we got what happened on NXT. Trick Williams jumped Mike Santana during his entrance, and so it was the Nemeths versus the System. Looks like Mike Santana was out there for support. It was a solid tag team match with some good action in order for interference, but the Nemeths ultimately won via super kick with the Danger Zone. The Nemeths demand a rematch, and the Hardys run in to close the show. Over on SmackDown, we're getting more build for WrestlePalooza. We had a Brock Lesnar segment. He wants Cena. He keeps calling out Cena. Instead of getting Cena, he gets Ron the Truth Killings, who's serious but still fun. He's doing his Ron Cena gimmick. It was a fun combination because only Truth can make Brock Lesnar break, and he made Brock break, but ultimately he caught an F5 for his troubles. Brock ended up ripping his pants. Backstage, Sami revealed that his challenger for the U.S. title will be none other than Fenix for the night. We got a hype for the AAA Worlds Collide event. So Sikoa vows to reclaim what he lost, primarily the United States Championship. Sami and Fenix had a fantastic, fast, and athletic match. It really was an awesome match, but ultimately Sami Zayn won with the Haluva kick. Backstage, Julia was confronted by B-Fab, which led to a match being set up. We are shown the arrivals for the AAA people, and the YCs had a vignette who actually ended up appearing at Worlds Collide. Julia versus B-Fab. This was for the United States title. The match never started because Kiana James interfered. Michin made the save with the kendo stick, so we're probably gonna get a tag match, which means Michin and B-Fab will win that match. We get hype of Drew McIntyre training in the ring. We get a split screen for Stratton and Cargo before their title match. And Aleister Black cuts a video vignette on Damian Priest. He is not done with him. As for the women's championship match, it led to a double count out. It was solid. It was much better than their SummerSlam match, but ultimately with the double count out and the barricade spear, there's no winner, but Nia Jax ended up attacking both and standing tall. I'd be perfectly fine if Nia Jax regained the championship. Back up in Nick Aldis' office, Chelsea Green and Alba Fire demand a tag team title shot. Nick Aldis is stalling because the tag title match never happened. Miz interprets Melo's singles push as a tag push, and something's amiss. We get a Cena Lesnar retrospective video, and Ray is being interviewed, but is confronted by his son, and Dom vows to win the AAA Mega Championship. Santa is interviewed, and Melo's like, Sammy's interviews. Melo's like, yo, can I get next? And Miz is upset that Melo wants the U.S. title, not the tag team titles. Hurry up and get to the split so we can push Melo. And our main event was Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. This was a solid match. Orton sold the leg throughout, had a couple of big spots, but ultimately Drew won with the Claymore, and he was going to do the same thing that he did to Cody to Randy, but Cody Rhodes made his return, challenges Drew at the pay-per-view, putting the championship on the line. Over on Collision, this was the last night of the 2300 residency, and again, fun show. I was there. This is the second week in a row where Collision has been very solid and not as collision-y as it's been before. But Io Riccaboni introduced MJF, who assaulted us, the crowd, and he assaulted Mark Briscoe, who said the stipulation for their match will be tables and thumbtacks. So, all right, that's a TNT match. And while he's showing this on the video, he actually snuck in the ring and attacked MJF, and MJF fled. Backstage, we get a recap of Daniel Garcia's joining the Hurt Syndicate, the Death Riders, and Lexi interviewed the Paragon, who expressed the disappointment in Garcia's turn. I like how things are woven out through AEW. Our first match was a unified title eliminator match with the championship being on the line. Not on the line, that was later. Neither Kanuska Takeshita took on Anthony Bowens. It was a solid back and forth match, but Takeshita was never going to lose this. He won with the Raging Fire. Backstage, Mascara Dorado, who's taking on the Beast Mortals, and their eliminator match. They'll be going down on this Wednesday's Dynamite, the September to remember. And Toni Storm came out for commentary. She was great as usual. We got a recap of Rio's return. Then we had the $500,000 women's tag team match, as it was the Triangle of Madness teaming with Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne to take on TJ, Chris Statlander, Harley Cameron, and Jamie Hayter. This was very chaotic, all over the place. We had double team secrets. We had a synchronized 10 corner punch, great high spots, but ultimately Thekla won after spearing Anna Jay. After the match, everybody brawled, including Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander, and Toni Storm countered Thekla, hitting her with the Storm Zero. Then we saw who can survive 5 with the best wrestler alive, and that was none other than Big Bill, who dominated and won and puts out the challenge to Eddie Kingston, which Eddie Kingston accepted over on Twitter. Backstage, Bowens and Caster are brawling, and they brawl to the ring because Jerry Lynn was talking to Bowens. Blake Christian and Lee Johnson ended up attacking Jerry Lynn, and Bowens and Caster both reunited briefly to fend off their attackers and protect Jerry Lynn. The double turn has worked. I don't even think Tony Khan planned for the double turn. Backstage, Mystico confronted MJF and threatened to remove his mask. MJF threatened to remove Mystico's mask, and it was just funny. Our next match was a tag team rematch from the previous week as FTR took on Adam Priest and the Dynamite Kid. This match was even better than their match from last week. It was really, really good. Very competitive, a bunch of near falls and submission attempts. Clearly, Tony Khan sees something in Tommy Billington and Adam Priest, but ultimately FTR won once again with the spike power driver. We got a backstage video package with Skye complaining about missed opportunities and tag team title matches, which they won, but they will be in the qualifying matches for the ladder match at All Out. The Bang Bang Gang, same thing for them. Then we had the Unified Championship match. Winner moves on to All Out, and it was Kazuchika Okada versus the upstart Michael Oku. This was a really, really fun, fast-paced match with counters and high-flying moves and some good submission attempts. Michael Oku took a really bad fall. He was at the top rope, and Okada gave him that beautiful drop kick, and he went from the top rope, crashing back first into the barricade. It looked bad, but ultimately, Okada won with the spinning tombstone, followed by the Rainmaker. As he's celebrating, right, Takeshita came out. Remember, Takeshita won his match, and yeah, we're getting to these two hopefully fighting. Takeshita's going to be a big, big star. I totally expect him to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Kingdom early next year. And our main event match was the Death Rider team of Jon Moxley and Dan Garcia taking on Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong of the Paragon. This was a solid tag team match. We worked on Kyle's knee, but ultimately, honestly, even though there were bouts of looking like the Paragon had it, the Death Riders dominated, and Kyle O'Reilly ended up tapping out. Marina ended up blocking Matt Menard from talking to Dan Garcia. It's tough, but Garcia exits with Moxley and Marina. As for our matches of the week from NXT, we got Javon Evans versus Josh Briggs. Surprised at how good that match was. Maybe it was more on Javon Evans. From Dynamite, Adam Page versus Josh Alexander. The Philly Street Fight, Tony Storm versus Skye Blue. And of course, that main event, the Young Bucks and the Death Rider versus the Opps and Brodido. From SmackDown, Sami Zayn versus Ray Fenix for the United States Championship. And from Collision, FTR versus Adam Priest and Tommy Billington and the Death Riders versus the Paragon. Our star of the week got two. One, we got the 2300 Arena. I do give it to buildings, and I do give it to fans for just how great they can be. And of course, two, Dominic Mysterio for winning the AAA Mega Championship at Worlds Collide. But that is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Look on the screen what we got coming up. You can check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations 52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.